Let's welcome in the management at HDFC Bank now. Parag Rao of HDFC Bank is now with us, Group Head, Payments, Consumer Finance, Digital Banking and IT. Sir, thank you so much for taking out time for us. Talk to us about the reboot in the credit card business of HDFC Bank. What does it mean?
Well, thanks for terming it as a reboot. And in a true sense, I think it was a reboot. We used the 8-9 months of the time when we could not source for a time to sort of reevaluate our strategies, look at what's happening in the marketplace, talk to our consumers, get feedback on our existing portfolios, get feedback about what customers are expecting for the future. And like we said, we used this time to really revamp a lot of our portfolio, relook existing products, plan a couple of new products, etc., and also sort of fine-tune our strategy over the next 2 to 3 years. And then come August, when the embargo was lifted, we clearly said we will be back to the market with a bang. And like I said, we did probably the fastest 400,000 cards immediately after the embargo was lifted. I think over the last 2 months, October, November, we've been clocking close to 4 lakh cards once again on a monthly basis. We're pretty bullish. Like I said, we've relooked the portfolio, talked to our customers. We've also had 9 months of liability sourcing, which the retail bank sort of continues to keep on growing. And we sort of looked at the customers, data mined the base, etc. And so therefore, we have a large set of internal bank customers as our database ready. And as I said, we continue to maintain this growth pace. We are pretty bullish about the marketplace. The market continues to grow. And maybe separately, I'll talk about how the spends are also growing. We are bullish, and we've got a lot of strategies in place to sort of really tap this growing market.
So can you talk to us about your tie-up with PayTM? What will be the tie-up mean for HDFC Bank going ahead?
Good you asked this question. This talk about tie-ups, and in fact, we have quite a few planned, is actually one of the strategies which we devised over the last 9 months. I think the first strategy was to look at our existing portfolio of cards, for which we have 15 to 15.5 million customers, take customer feedback, reevaluate some of the products and features, what's being used, what's not being used, what's liked, what's not being liked, and sort of tweak some of them, improve some of the existing product range, because obviously, I think the existing customers of the bank who are sort of enjoying the kind of service and the products which we give them, we believe that we need to go back to them again and again and again, continuously show us value. So that's one leg of the strategy. The second leg was to look at some of the newer segments where either we are not there at all, or either where we have a very small presence, maybe in the super premium space, maybe in the millennial space, etc., and devise and create new products which will help us penetrate even further into these segments. That was leg number 2 of our strategy. The third leg of our strategy was revamp a lot of our customer-facing processes and actually focus even more on customer experience to ensure that whichever customer joins us as a new customer, card customer, or an existing customer continues to enjoy the best possible world-class service which he expects from a large leading bank and a service provider like us.
Good afternoon, Mr. Rao. This is Cheryl also joining in the conversation. Wanted to talk about the buy now, pay later. How is it actually changing the landscape, and how is HDFC Bank actually looking at that particular area?
Well, the answer is yes and no. I'll answer the no first. The payments market in India is growing rapidly. 4 years back, there was the emergence of a new kid on the block, which is UPI. We all see and experience UPI. It's a wonderful new way to make payments in India. And I think they've done a fantastic job. NPCI especially partnered with many of the banks and many of the fintechs to expand and grow the UPI volume share. Mind you, a significant portion of this growth has actually come from cash displacement. And so in that, UPI, I think, has done a wonderful job for the Indian economy, talking about the objectives which I just now alluded to in terms of the digital mission of India, which is displace cash and adopt and ensure that consumers, merchants, industries adopt electronic forms of payment. So UPI has done, I think, a fantastic job. Having said this, while UPI has shown the largest growth because obviously the denominator is also lower, at the same time, all product forms, credit cards, debit cards, all of them continue growing. None of them have actually reduced. And so in that sense, like I said, India being an underpenetrated market for payments, I think the overall market is growing. And we see, and in the foreseeable future also this trend growing. So each payment form is growing. We are the largest and the largest credit card issuer in the credit card space. In terms of debit cards, we are the second largest in the industry in terms of our spends. In terms of acceptance, merchant acceptance business, we are once again the largest in India, and we have the largest value share of payments which flow through HDFC Bank's merchant acceptance network. Depending on whether they're physical merchants or electronic merchants, we have anywhere between a 45 to 50% market share. All these markets continue growing. Like I said, for the new payment form to an UPI, we have clearly a double-digit market share already, and we continue growing at a very fast pace. So for us, all the payment forms are growing, and we will continue investing in all of these payment forms.
Mr. Rao, will growth for HDFC Bank slow down, or actually are you still expecting to see strong growth going forward?
Well, two perspectives to look at it. When you compare the growth today, which we see in the payment space, as compared to what you saw in the pandemic space, obviously, we've seen a good, healthy bounce back of spends happening, especially in electronic payments. And so to that extent, the medium-term growth potential is very large. We still, I think, in some categories are still catching up with the pre-pandemic levels of spends. But many of the categories, we've already surpassed the pre-COVID levels of spends. And we continue showing healthy growth, like I said, across all payment forms. Each payment form has its own growth built in, and we'll continue seeing expansion of the payment space. In the medium to long term, you will see healthy growth of the payment ecosystem, fueled by a couple of things. One is obviously as consumption grows at the consumer level, in the MSME and SME level, you'll see payments growing, point number one. Point number two, as you see more and more adoption of electronic forms of payment, one part is cash displacement. And as you know, if you see the published figures, cash is still an extremely large, significant portion of the consumer economy, even as we speak. Similarly, in the institutional and the corporate side, you still see a large number of payments being made through things like check, although payments have now moved to electronic means like net banking or products like eNet. So a lot of that displacement, which is going to happen on cash, and then movement from the regular traditional banking instruments to payment modes, is also going to happen. So that's going to be the second level of the driver of growth in the industry.
Right. HDFC Bank has been vocal about going to rural financial inclusion theme, which is commonly spoken about. Tell us about the growth prospects there. What is HDFC doing? How will they manage the risk on those lines?
Well, Harsh, while I don't look at that part of the business for the bank, and so I may not be the best person to sort of comment on it, I think the sentiment which I talked to you about in the MSME, in the SME sector too, is reflective also in the rural segments. We're a large full suite bank, and we are a bank of both for India and for Bharat, and we have a significant presence in the Suru, what we call the semi-urban and rural India, across our branch banking, across our availability of asset products and card products. In fact, in many of the wallets of the Suru customers. We are probably the first credit card or the first loan. And we see good, robust growth in the Suru segment as well. Suru, in fact, incrementally for our payment business, our liability business, and for our asset business is close to 40-50% of our incremental acquisition on a month-on-month basis, which we see even today. Okay, and like I said, we started investing in Suru close to almost 6 to 7 years back. Very happy and delighted to see that those investments are really paying off. We're getting a fantastic response from consumers in the Suru from a bank like HDFC Bank. And we've ensured that in our expansion plans, we ensure that all our products are available on day one in whichever branch, say, we open in the Suru space. And we will continue investing in this space.
Thank you so much, Mr. Rao, for taking out time for us. On that note, we are taking a